Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia White. I am an educator here in the state of New Mexico, and I am interviewing today Lisa Agnello, who is the author of Gobee from the Adobe. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks. Thanks, Alicia, for helping me with this.
No problem. I want to get into just a couple of facts before we get started. I read through Gobee and the Adobe and absolutely love it, but I just wanted to name a couple of facts and like where I come from as an educator. So students who are not proficient in reading by the end of third grade are 3 to 4 times more likely to drop out of school before graduation. And then only 36.2% of kindergarten students in the state of New Mexico meet the standard benchmark when it comes to the iStation assessment, which is the assessment we here use in the state to determine if a student is on grade level and can proceed to the next grade. Let's go ahead and get started. So Lisa, what age range is this book targeting?
Really kind of depends on the child, anywhere from 3 years old to 6 to 7, depending on their reading skills.
And then, Gobee is actually a real life, or was a person, not a person. Gobee was actually a big part of your life, and there is a real life Gobee. Can you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about Gobee?
Yeah, he thought he was a person, actually. Gobee was a dachshund that we rescued when he was 9 months old, and we had him until he was just short of 16. We lost him in June. And so he was a character. He was definitely larger than life. And when we came to New Mexico, I decided Gobee from the Adobe because we lived in an Adobe style house, and stories started unraveling while I was teaching.
You mentioned you're a teacher, and I believe you said that you were a first grade teacher. How did that role help you with the creation of the book?
So I was a generalist. I taught math, science, language. And one of the things that we do as a teacher, we're given standards for each grade that we have to make sure that we hit, that we teach the kids before they go to the next grade level. And as a language teacher, actually, any of my subjects, I would bring in real life situations, what's going on in my life right now. So let's say Gobee brought in a lizard into the house and bit the tail off, and my husband had to catch the lizard and get it out of the house. And so we would make that into a story, the kids and I, because they're learning things like capital letters, finger spacing, punctuation at the end of the sentence. And Gobee was great for teaching exclamation marks because a lot of times the problems he got into were definitely exclamation point kind of sentences. So we just built stories around Gobee in first grade.
So you had like a little focus group with your first graders in regards to like how you would write this book.
I did. I definitely did. We would start the year with, say, one sentence, adding some of our sight words. And then by the end of the grade level, so 9 months later, when they were leaving me, we would be writing 2 and 3 in paragraphs, 2 and 3 sentences or paragraphs. And then I always invited them to draw pictures of what they thought Gobee would look like. And traditionally throughout the year, I would bring videos of Gobee. And we have so much great technology in the classroom now that I could put the video from my phone onto the screen so the kids could see it. So if he was up to something silly, I would bring that in. So I actually still have a lot of really great pictures that some of them drew for me through the years of Gobee.
That's awesome. Why did you decide to change the spelling of Gobee? So I know that Gobee was named after like the Gobi Desert, so Gobi. But you changed the spelling to Gobee. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So Gobee was actually a pedigreed dog that we rescued, and his given name was Gobee, and the whole litter had desert names. There was a Sahara and a Gobee. I don't remember the rest of them, a Chihuahua. And so we kept his name because he was 9 months old, and it's kind of an interesting name. And I realized GOBI for a first grader, kindergartner, even they would probably want to pronounce it, and my students did. They thought it was go by because of the I on the end. So in first grade, one of the standards we teach are vowel teams, and vowel teams are two vowels put together that make one vowel sound. So we just changed it to go, which is another they know go. I think it's a kindergarten sight word. I'm not 100% sure, but so we just put go and be together, which are two things that by first grade children are expected to understand how to pronounce go be. So, and it worked out well. I tried it with the class, and I would write things on the board and then have them raise their hand. Who thinks they know how to say this word? And every year somebody would say, oh, it's go be. They didn't know what it meant, but they could pronounce it.
As I was reading through the book, I noticed you had the writing of it is very simplistic. So like a lot of sight words. Can you tell me how this book can help an emerging reader?
Sure. So they've found that through studies that repetition of reading a word. I think I mentioned earlier things like brown bear, what do you see? When a child reads that book over and over, they literally memorize words like what and do. And so that's what I was going for. I come back to that book a lot because that was one of our favorites at our house for some pretty important years during my daughter's growing up. And so just the repetition of these words, and I did that on purpose, knowing that in kindergarten, first grade, those are the kind of books that are helpful to the kids who are struggling because they can learn it themselves and read it themselves. And then they'll go to the next book and recognize those words just from reading it so much. Yeah.
So as I was reading through the book, I noticed that you have a very particular way of how the illustrations tie back to the story. Can you tell me how you and your illustrator, or how did you find your illustrator? Because the way that they did the illustrations for the book is so unique.
Yeah. So I again, I think I mentioned this, but I'll just go over it again. It was during COVID, and teaching first grade was very challenging, and probably like you, 70-hour weeks most of the time because we were doing just a lot of prep. And then we started hybrid, which meant I had some kids online and some kids in person. And it got really stressful by the end of the second year. And my husband said, wait a second, we moved here from California so that we could slow down. And here you are increasing with this full-time, really challenging job. And so I decided at the end of the year to stop teaching for a bit and write this book, which I had been talking about for a long time. Honestly, as soon as we moved in to our house, I started making rhymes about Gobee from the Adobe. And so deciding I was going to write the book, I needed to find an illustrator because I'm not an artist. I'm a writer, not an artist, I should say. So I kind of put out the word that I was looking for an artist. And my friend said, my son is in grad school in San Diego. He's a graphic artist. He does pets. And she said, you should talk to him. So I did Zoom interviews with everyone because we were kind of still in the heart of COVID. Everybody was kind of locked up. And Colin Ingram is my illustrator. He was the only one that came to the Zoom meeting serious. He had drawings of what he had asked for, a picture of Gobee. And he showed up with probably the picture you see in the book is about what Colin had. He made him a little fluffier because Gobee was a long hair. But he came and I could see he was serious. And so I just hired him. We have a contract, and I thought it would be a good match, and it feels like it has been. I really am pleased with the art, which this is a picture book. So the art is a huge part of why the kids are going to pick this book up. I think. Yeah.
How did you two work together to create the beautiful pages that accompany the book?
So we literally did each page. So I sent Colin the words, and I also I think it was a power, or it was a Word doc, and I had the words, and then I had a bunch of notes about what I saw for the picture accompanying the words. And so after that, we would literally did page by page. So I would have the notes of what I wanted on the page, and then I would send him just scrolls of pictures that I would take of my neighborhood. So the house that's in the picture or in the book is a lot of houses you see in New Mexico. It's not actually my house. I wanted the turquoise blue and the clay color. And just so it's a quintessential New Mexico book. Yeah. Or Southwest, at least. And so I sent pictures, and we literally, it was a little tedious, honestly. I would send pictures, Colin would make the page, and then I would say, hey, can you take this out? Can you add that? Can you change that color? Since I don't know that Colin has visited New Mexico, honestly. I think he probably has. His uncle lives here, but I just really wanted it to feel like New Mexico. And since I chose an artist who was not living in New Mexico, I think it probably took us a little longer with the going back and forth, but I think it was worth it. Yeah.
Awesome. So, okay. Elisa, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me and just talk about Gobee from the Adobe. I look forward to seeing this out on bookshelves. Do you have any info on like where people or when people can start locating and buying this book?
Yeah. So right now I have a hard copy. I think it's called a proof, and it has like a big proof stamp on it, and it looks good. So what I do now is I go back to the publisher and I say, okay, I think everything looks good. So I should have the books with Christmas now. I'm thinking by the beginning of the year, January, I should have the books in hand, and I'm just going to be out selling them myself. It's my intention to travel around the state. I've actually already had a bookstore in Silver City and a bookstore in Flagstaff, Arizona that said, bring them and we'll put them out for you. So my intention is to go around. Like I said, I've got 2 schools that have said, I'm going to hit you up too, by the way, to see if I can come and read like library time. One class is having me in for guest speaker as an artist and how to get a book published. So it's my hope to kind of just really go out there and see the kids around the city, around the state. But it will be on Amazon, and it's also being published through Ingram, which is the largest publishing house, the largest independent publishing house, I think, in the US. And then a smaller firm who is under the umbrella of Ingram, and they're out of Santa Fe. They're called Erie Books. So on all 3 of those sites, Erie, Ingram, and Amazon, you'll be able to buy a copy of it. And then I will also have copies myself. So my intention is, I think, to kind of set up a website where you can buy them directly from me, and I just mail them out. I'm self-publishing, so it's very it's very unprofessional, probably how I'm selling it, but I'm enjoying. I'm having a good time, so I'm feeling okay about that. Yeah. So I will definitely have links, though, once they get out there that you could click on and buy them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I look forward to having a hard copy.
Thank you. I know, me too. I really am.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much again for meeting with me, and you have a wonderful day, and good luck with Gobee and the Adobe.
Thanks, Alicia. I really appreciate your time. I really wanted a teacher with experience to look at the book and talk with me about it. So thank you for giving me your time. It's very gracious of you.
You're welcome.